keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number one cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BEFM 부산영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
안녕하세요. 배우 문지은입니다. 우리 사회에는 일을 할 수 있어도 사회에 나아갈 기회조차 얻지 못하는 발달장애인이 있습니다. 그 여정에 함께하는 위드 슬로우 스타터 캠페인을 시작합니다. 더 많은 첫걸음이 시작될 수 있도록 발달장애인의 출발을 응원해주세요. 공익광고 협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
It seems that Donald Trump, he has made it back to the White House, or he is set to become the 47th president of the United States of America. So Trump cleared the threshold of 270 electoral votes. So we've been talking about that magic number, taking key swing states that got him to this number. One U.S. outlet likened his victory to a phoenix rising from the dead, and although this may be of a bit of a dramatization, he did make a surprise comeback from his defeat back in 2020. So, yes, also keep in mind, 2 assassination attempts. The official results, from the last remaining votes from the states aren't quite in, but this is definitely Trump 2.0. It is underway. And America, as well as the world, is preparing for probably some major changes. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, November 7th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Welcome to the program. I hope you slept well and you're doing well. So the big news is this. This is something we've been covering for months on end. We have a winner. Donald Trump is going to reclaim the White House, and he's going to become the 47th president of the United States this January. That's when the inauguration ceremony is. And most media outlets have projected, yes, they have, the check mark. It's pretty much official. He is the winner with, he got more than the 270 electoral votes that are needed to take the presidency. And we'll go through the specific vote counts later on, but first, we were watching this unfold live, I'm sure, all around the world. The swing state of North Carolina was the first that kind of opened his path to victory, as they say. And then Pennsylvania, the Keystone state that was considered a must-win for either candidate, that also went in under Trump's column, turning red, putting him very much on the cusp of victory. So we're kind of going through the play-by-play from what happened yesterday. And then finally, Wisconsin also went red, getting Donald Trump to the 270 votes, that threshold that he needed. So he re-enters the White House with many records. First, as the first former president since 1892 to win a non-consecutive or a 징검다리 term. He's also the first person to have been convicted of a felony to be elected president. He's also going to be the oldest president. He's due to take oath when he is 78. Excuse me, but Trump will also have to govern a deeply divided nation. According to the Associated Press, the AP, quote, Trump is poised to, inherit a nation with deepening political and cultural fissures and a worried electorate. So that's a direct quote from one outlet. So will this be a return to 2016 or will we see some changes in his second term in office? That is a question that many in the world are pondering and wondering. So that's what we're going to be talking about throughout our program today. But let's get to our text topic. Waivers out there. I'm going to talk about weddings. We're going to do a complete right turn, completely different. Okay. What do you usually wear to weddings? Okay, let's say you get an invite. What do you wear? Also, if you could only wear, you only have two choices. There is no in between. Two choices. All white versus sweats to a wedding. Which would you choose? 자, 하객룩 요즘에 기사 많이 보셨을 거예요. 근데 대부분 우리 웨이버들 대부분 어떤 옷을 입어요? To a wedding, 결혼식에. 만약 누군가의 결혼식에 all white 아니면 추리닝 입어야 한다면 그 선택이 두 개밖에 없어요. You cannot say, oh, I would never go to a wedding in all white or I would never go to a wedding in sweats. We know you probably wouldn't, right? But if you had to choose between the two, which would you choose? So think about that. You can send your answers to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to that platform, type in BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you can join in our lively chat with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050 샵 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free through our Kakao Talk channel. So same thing there. Search for BEFM or 부산영어방송 to send in your messages. You can send in photos as well if you want to. And the ways you can listen to our show, 90.5 or 103.3 FM, that's on the radio. Also, like I said, on the YouTube platform, we are streaming live as we speak right now. And you can watch again at your leisure. We have two apps that you can download. First up, we have the BEFM app, our own app. It's absolutely free, very easy to download. Also, we're available on the Patbang app as well. Let's talk about what we have for you today. So we have Chris with Beyond the Headlines and then Stephanie coming back with City Insights. For our special interview, today's going to be the last day, I believe, this week, the final installment of our coverage of the U.S. election. But today we're going to focus on the economic policy, the economic angle of this election and what this may mean now that we know that Donald Trump is going to be returning to the Oval Office. What does this mean economically? Let's find out in hour number 2, and I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:07, and these are today's headlines. Donald Trump, winner of U.S. presidential race. Donald Trump has won the U.S. presidential race with 292 electoral votes projected. Kamala Harris has conceded the race and congratulated Trump on his win. South Korean won tumbles after Trump wins election. The South Korean currency fell sharply against the U.S. dollar during intraday trading yesterday after Donald Trump won the election as investors rushed to buy U.S. dollars. Russia's parliament ratifies bilateral treaty with North Korea. Russia's upper house of parliament ratified a treaty with North Korea on Wednesday that calls for establishing a mutual commitment to provide military assistance to each other in the event of an armed attack. Websites of defense and environment ministries hit by cyber attack. The websites of the Defense and Environment Ministry suffered severe disruptions this week after a cyber attack following a warning of North Korea's possible hackings. Netanyahu fires defense minister. Protests break out in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has fired his defense minister Yoav Gallant, citing a crisis of trust as protests have broken out calling for Netanyahu's resignation. And these are today's headlines. It's time to say hi to Haley, so let's get the formalities out of the way first. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so before we jump into our Busan updates, let's talk about this whole like hagek look,
the wedding guest
The wedding
attire.
guest. If you had to choose. Okay, what do you usually wear versus also, if you had to choose between all white
Right.
and sweats, which are like,
Ooh, which
it's like painful to talk about.
For
but-
the last wedding that I went to, which
Yes.
was actually for someone at the office, actually for the producer who's filling in for our producer, I wore all black. I wore all black
All
because
black.
That's kind of common, like muted colors in Korea. And we're going to
That's-
talk about
yes.
that later for wake. And I would definitely wear this, what I'm wearing right now,
Okay.
to a wedding. But if I had to choose, I mean, if I do wear all white, will a bridesmaid throw red wine on me? Can
Probably.
they throw red wine on me? So I will not be in all white. But if it's a Korean wedding,
Yes.
I'm gonna wear sweats. If it's an American wedding, it's non-Korean wedding.
Yes.
I might wear all white and just have a
Risk it?
bridesmaid. Yeah, have someone throw red wine or a beverage on me. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Either
So-
way, I'm gonna be minus one friend. What about you?
Yes. For me, I don't know. Okay, so usually when I go to a wedding, you're right. Culturally, it is quite different. In the States, normally I would have probably worn something, really pretty, floral,
like a
pastel,
dress,
like a
right,
dress, or like a really, dressed up suit, but probably a dress. Here in Korea, I realized when I went to my cousin's wedding, that was the first wedding I attended.
Right.
Number one, this is the wedding where I talked about I did not realize that you're not supposed to bring gifts. You're supposed to take an
with the
envelope.
box?
Yeah, I literally took a really nicely wrapped gift, and I was like, I'm the only one that
And
has
they're
a
like,
gift.
"What are you doing?"
My mom was mortified, and I was double mortified. And I said, "Mom, what did you tell me?"
Mom, yeah.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me? And she thought, I thought you knew. I didn't.
No,
and
so I know nothing.
I was dressed in a really pretty. It was floral dress. I felt so out of place.
Yeah.
That was a cultural wake up there. So if I had to choose between all white and sweats, I would still go with all white because I just cannot imagine wearing sweats to
Right.
someone's wedding because it's out of
Right.
respect.
I have seen 등산복. I have seen hiking attire at a wedding, definitely.
Okay.
So,
Well, we're going to dive into our first update. So, we're going to go to this issue of the Global Hub City special legislation. What's going on?
right. So the special bill. So local lawmakers, they had promised to pass that special legislation on the Global Hub City, 부산 글로벌 허브 도시 특별법, within the year. Well, check your calendars. The end of the year is almost here, and that promise has not been kept. So the bill, what it's going to do is to set up this legal foundation to turn Busan into an international business city on par with Singapore and Hong Kong.
Okay.
And the key here, though, is to convince the Democratic Party, of course, almost all lawmakers in Busan, with the exception of one being from the ruling People Power Party, which, and the DP has a majority in parliament. So this week, Mayor Park Hyung-jun has set off to do that. He delivered a petition that was signed by 1.6 million people in Busan. That's a little over half of our population. He delivered that petition to the ruling party floor leader Chu Kyung-ho, as well as the Democratic Party's Interior Committee Chair Shin Jung-hoon. And Mayor Park said that this bill is pivotal for the country to overcome this imbalance of capital-centric development and foster Busan as a new center of growth.
Right, but this is a question I'm sure many people have right now. How realistic is that this bill is going to pass, at the National Assembly level within the year?
Right. So if you put that into within the year, that may be tough. So the bill itself was introduced back in May, and it's been taken up to the small committee levels, but that's basically where it stopped.
Yes.
The Democratic Party opposes the bill because there are other similar bills on the table on regional development from other cities. So they're considering this fairness issue into effect.
Yes.
The key, once again, is to get the DP's cooperation. And actually, that's where Mayor Park ran into a reef earlier this week because he was supposed to meet with the floor leader of the opposition party, Park Chan-dae, but Park Chan-dae had to cancel that meeting due to other engagements within the party.
I see.
So the thing is, we don't want what happened with the Korea Development Bank Act, the 산은법, to happen again, which kind of sat on the table for a while until the National Assembly ended and the bill automatically expired.
Yes. So that's, once again, the Global Hub City, where we stand as of right now. Up next, let's talk about consumer prices here in Busan.
Right. So the economy, Busan's consumer prices or the rate of increase, 소비자 물가 상승률, has gone up, but only by about a percentage point. And Dongnam Statistics Office said that for the month of October, the city's consumer price rate went up by 1.4% compared to the October of last year. And good news, this is the first time in 3 years and 9 months that we've seen the consumer level go to only the 1% level. And experts say, though, there might be a bit of a mirage here because consumer rates went up by a huge margin last October, because that's when the rates for public transportation fares went up.
Yes.
But still, and at the same time, fresh produce prices went up by nearly 6%, and we definitely feel that.
Yes.
So there are still concerns on that front. However, experts do say that the general price trend is kind of on a stable level.
Well, that's overall good news. Stable
Right.
is good. All right, so our city, as we know, is in full preparation mode for the fireworks festival. That's coming up this weekend.
That is the day after tomorrow,
Yes.
right? So number one is safety, safety, because about 1 million people are expected to come to Gwangan Beach, to Haeundae, Dongbekseom, Igidae, and whatnot.
Yes.
So Busan City is in full safety mode. So the city, with the Interior Ministry and the relevant agencies, they are holding safety inspections today and tomorrow across the beach, 6 subway stations, major roads, and other spots. And there will be, on the day of the fireworks festival, a total of 6,700 safety authorities dispatched to the scenes.
Yes.
And for on the day too, the authorities will be monitoring the situation from CCTVs. And if the crowds on Gwangan Beach reach a 200,000 threshold, they will block entry to the beach. So keep that in mind. And there will also be vehicles with LED lights guiding the traffic on the roads. So please pay attention to the loudspeaker announcements and also your phone, because the authorities will send emergency text messages if there are any foot traffic closures or safety issues, and guiding people when and where to move.
Right, so it does sound like they have a good plan in place for safety. And the city is also adding more cars to the public transportation system, right?
Right, because the one tip that I can give you is to take public transportation.
Absolutely.
Don't dare drive on this day. Busan Metro, so the subway is adding 240 additional cars to all of its lines.
Okay.
So before the fireworks show, the trains will run more often, between 4.5 minutes to every 7 minutes. And then even closer together after the fireworks show, every 3 to 6 minutes. Then that's between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m.
Yes.
And then there will also be about 2,500 safety personnel dispatched to major stations. So they will control the entry of people into the stations, to the platforms, and even onto the subway cars if it gets too crowded. So please follow directions. Another tip, Busan Metro also advised people to get off at either Namcheon Station or Millak Station, and not at Gwangan or Kumyeonsan, because they are closer to the beach, but they will be more crowded. So you might actually waste more time inside the station anyways.
Yes. But even though you just gave out really good advice, if you can, Don't take your car. So what about people who will be driving, though?
Right. I mean, don't drive to the fireworks festival,
but you still have to drive.
May be driving
Yes.
to other locations. Here are some detours and restrictions.
Sure.
Gwangan Bridge, Gwangan-daegyo, will be partially closed off today and tomorrow for installation. It's been for the earlier this week anyways.
Yes.
But then on the day of the fireworks, that's this Saturday, the top part of the bridge will be completely closed off from 3:30 p.m. to midnight.
Okay.
Even before that, there will be partial closures. And then bottom half from 6:30 to midnight. So please be aware of that. You cannot take the bridge during this time. The road running through the beach, Gwangan Haebyunro, will be completely closed off. And other roads will be closed depending on traffic. So it'll be flexible, but these roads will be affected. 황년산로, 광남로, 밀락수변로, and 이기대 공원로.
I see. Well, thanks for giving us the heads up. Of course, it's a big, big day for our city, and let's be safe out there. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
And we're going to get to your text topic and then our traffic and weather right now. So once again, what do you usually wear to weddings? And you might have like a certain quote and air quotes, like a uniform, like a kind of code, like what dark colors or all black or whatnot. And also depends where the wedding is, right? If you had to choose between all white or sweats, you have no in between. Those two choices, which would you rather? Is a question posed to you. While you think about that, here's your traffic and weather. It is now 7:19. Here's your traffic report. There is congestion detected on the Dongseo overpass from Bumnikgo ramp to the old Kaegum toll gate. Also, it's looking kind of slow right now on Luno Samsungdaero from the Myeongji underpass to Shinho Bridge. Well, today is Ipdong, officially the beginning of winter according to the 24 solar cycle demarcations. It is currently 10 degrees Celsius here in Sentum City, with a daytime high expected to go up to 19 degrees Celsius. Under clear skies, looking across the country, it is quite cold in other parts of the country, with the morning lows respectively lingering in single digits and strong winds making it feel even colder than the actual temperature. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time to check in with Haley with News Digest. So the biggest news, of course, is the fact that the U.S. presidential election is, essentially over.
Right.
And we have a clear winner. The path that got Donald Trump to 270, getting beyond that threshold in terms of electoral votes.
Right. So I do want to give you a quick update. As of right now, Trump, according to AP at least, he is projected to have 295 votes, as AP has just called the state of Alaska for Trump. But a quick electoral college 선거인단 recap, what it is, how it works. So each state is assigned a different number of votes that they have into the system.
Right.
It's based on their population, specifically the number of senators, 2 for every state, plus number of House of Representatives members based on the population.
Yes.
So all of the electoral college votes from all 50 states plus Washington, D.C., they add up to 539. So for a simple majority, 270. That's why we have that magic number of 270, half plus 1. So that's why we look at a handful of swing states, 7, that have gone either way in the last several elections, but they do have a significant enough number of votes to sway the election.
Okay.
And the thing about these swing states this year, most of them, if not all of them, went Trump's way.
They did.
And he started the night quite strong with Florida, which is not a swing state per se. It's been mostly red in the past. The only 2 times that it's gone blue for the Democratic Party, that was with Barack Obama, both elections.
Yes.
But Florida going red gave Trump a strong show of 30 electoral votes. But the first big swing state win, as you said, was the state of North Carolina.
That's right.
With 16, followed by Georgia. Georgia actually was kind of a big deal because it had voted for Joe Biden in the past in the 2020 election. So that meant that Trump had flipped that state red.
Yes.
But of course, a key victory, Pennsylvania with its 19 electoral votes. And the final nail went with Wisconsin that put him over 270. The other swing state, Michigan, has gone for Trump as well. Arizona and Nevada, they are going to take days. If we're talking about like up to 13 days to count officially. However, the projection is that Trump is leading.
Yes, yes. So right now, no one can deny that Donald Trump is, the person or man of the hour. But there are other names, people who contributed to his win.
Right, and he did name these names in his speech. These are J.D. Vance, RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, and his own son, Donald Trump Jr.
Okay.
So J.D. Vance, the VP-elect now, he's now the 3rd youngest person to take the vice president's office. He's just 40. He's also kind of the biggest beneficiary because Vance is now the heir apparent to Trump's MAGA movement, Make America Great Again movement.
Yes.
Also, RFK Jr. and Elon Musk, they joined the Trump campaign kind of later on. However, both had significant impacts with the demographics that they were targeting. RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was seen necessary to take kind of the progressive third-party votes.
Yes.
And Elon Musk was kind of the billionaire who funded Trump's campaign, but also like the masculine vote. And of course, he was throwing money, literally $1 million to each voter that won his raffle in the state of Pennsylvania. And then finally, within his family, we did see an interesting dynamic shift.
Yes.
Because in Trump 1.0, the key figures were his daughter Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner.
Right.
They've been very absent from this particular
Quite different,
campaign. Right. So Donald Trump Jr. kind of took the kingmaker role and became a surrogate for his father. And this actually, pundits say, may affect how the second term for the Trump presidency may shape up because Ivanka and Jared Kushner were kind of a moderate voice, at least within the family, that attempted to tamp down their father's more radical stances. However, Donald Trump Jr. is completely on board with his father's policies. So this may, he likely will not put checks on his father.
Yes. So that's kind of the breakdown of the people that were very supportive of Donald Trump. So, while we are following and, we did follow and are still kind of looking at the aftermath of the presidential race, this obviously is not the only election going on in the U.S. Of course, it's the biggest one. But
Right. So Senate and congressional seats are also up for grabs.
Yes.
And actually, Republicans have taken back the Senate. Congressional races are still being counted, but Republicans do have a lead there. So if that is called for Republicans as well, pretty much both branches, the executive and the legislative, will go red. There's a conservative majority in the Supreme Court as well. So that will be quite a different picture. In any case, I do want to look at one particular Senate seat.
Yes.
This is in the state of New Jersey. For the first time ever, we are going to have a Korean American senator.
That's right.
And the person is Andy Kim, the senator-elect. He's a third-term congressman from New Jersey, and he has won the Senate seat.
Yes.
So he's a son of immigrants. His father, a geneticist from background in MIT and Harvard, who has dedicated his life to cancer and Alzheimer's treatment.
Yes.
His mother, a nurse who made Andy Kim volunteer at her hospital, so he will learn the value of working for the people. He is not new to taking this first title in the state of New Jersey,
Right.
being the state's first Asian American congressman. And actually, he's been elected for 3 times in an area that has a heavy white background. And then he also beat then incumbent Republican Tom MacArthur.
Right.
So New Jersey itself, though, is a fairly blue state. So the primaries for the Democratic Party was more fierce because he actually announced his candidacy right after sitting Senator Bob Menendez was indicted for bribery.
That's right.
And then also he made this kind of national profile right on January 6, 2021. This was the insurrection of the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. Andy Kim was seen cleaning up the trash and the mess left in the Capitol in
Yes.
the wake of that insurrection. And that definitely brought spotlight to his fame.
Yes, clearly remembered. That was turmoil, right,
Right,
at that
right.
time. All right, let's bring it back to domestic politics, though, for now, because President Yoon Suk-yeol is going to hold a press conference and make a public statement later on today, right?
Right. So that official press conference is his 4th since taking office. And the Yongsan office has previously said he will make a full explanation about all the things that people may have questions about.
Okay.
So this could involve his wife as well. So a press conference was expected because we are approaching the halfway point, a midpoint of his term.
Sure.
However, the how and when he went about announcing it kind of came out of left field. So the presidential office announced this press conference on the evening of the day he was actually supposed to go to the National Assembly for his budget speech,
Right.
which he did not do. The prime minister read the speech instead. And the date is also way earlier than anticipated, than the actual halfway point.
Okay.
And there's apparently tension within the People Power Party, the ruling power party itself, over who had an influence on him making this decision. Because right now there are 2 factions within the party, the pro-Yoon faction, the pro-presidential faction. That's led by the floor leader, Chu Kyung-ho.
Sure.
Chu said that he met with the president the day before the announcement and proposed this, thus the president following this advice.
Okay.
That statement seems to have 2 reasons. First, to show the public that there is a clear line of communications between the ruling party and the presidential office.
Okay.
Because the lack of communications has been an issue in the past. Second, to once again show the public that the president's ears are within the party and not per se the party leader, party chairman Han Dong-hoon's suggestions. Because that's faction number 2 within the ruling party,
Right.
the pro-Han faction, which ironically, Yoon Suk-yeol is the person who brought Han Dong-hoon into politics.
That's
But
right.
in any case, Han Dong-hoon, for his part, said that he wasn't aware of this request from the party's floor leader. Added that if the presidential office thinks the floor leader is at the center of the party and not the party's chairman, then the presidential office would be very mistaken.
Oh,
Yeah.
pointed comments. All right, so that's something that we can expect in the near future and in hours to come, maybe. But for a final story, let's talk about electric scooters, e-scooters, which can be a nuisance. Some people really thoroughly enjoy using them. Well, Seoul City is making apparently the country's first e-scooter free street.
Right. So Seoul City is going to ban e-scooters on specific roads that have a high risk of accidents. And that
Yes.
policy will go into effect within the year. And so these are once again roads that have a high risk of accidents involving e-scooters and also enforcing illegal parking violations and towing for e-scooters.
Yes.
Because currently, when it comes to illegal parking, this is done more on a voluntary basis. And in regular towing zones, the city will give private companies that run these e-scooter programs 3 hours to move their scooters. But then that doesn't happen quite often.
Yes.
And when they don't do that, nothing happens. There's that. But after a grace period of 1 month right now, starting in December, Seoul City will call tow trucks immediately when they see a parking violation of scooters, and then even have public officials just plop them and take them away if a tow truck isn't available, so if needed be.
Interesting. Well, I'm just thinking, yeah, kickboards, that's good. I'm glad they're doing that, but also, what about like illegally parked cars too?
Well, that too, yeah.
Quickly, please.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
And we are due for our first song break. So what about this one, Together by 잔나비.
다른 품던 그 말로 멋진 옷을 찌어입곤 텅 빈 방에 누워 잠이 낮았지 이름도 모르는 꽃에 내 멋대로 붙여본 꽃말 손대지 말아요 그저 눈으로만 바라봐요 나는 너의 음악이고 그런 마음 한 줄이야 때가 되면 내 마음에 시퍼렇게 남을 거야 기다림은 저 별의 빛 우주를 건너는 너에게 하고픈 말은 하루에 딱 반씩 접어 매일 밤 거짓새면 달까지도 가는데 천번을 접어야지만 하게 되는 슬픈 사연 전동 같은 한숨 타면 너의 곁에 떠오르나 나는 너의 음악이고 그런 마음 한 줄이야 때가 되면 내 귓볼에 찬란히 매달릴 거야 기다림은 저 별의 빛 우주를 건너는 되면 내 마음에 축제처럼 열릴 거야 기다림은 저 별의 빛 우주를 건너 우주를
Welcome back, everybody. All right, we are going back to our top story today. We're talking about the U.S. presidential election, and this time to the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris. So Vice President Harris, she has conceded the election, meaning that she admitted defeat on Wednesday local time or very early this morning Korea time. So her campaign told the press that Harris called Donald Trump, the president-elect, to congratulate him on his win and emphasize the peaceful transfer of power and being a president for all Americans. And that's, the tone of the message that, as far as we know, right? She addressed the public just an hour ago at Howard University, her alma mater. And I believe we have a clip of that, and we're going to play that for you right now.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say the light of America's promise will always burn bright as long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting.
And for those of you who are wondering, why are you, I'm not just playing Kamala Harris's clip, because for Cat's Pick in a little bit, I'm going to be playing a clip of President-elect Donald Trump addressing his supporters as well. So I don't want you to think it's one-sided. It's not. So that is what has happened since Donald Trump, once again, he passed that threshold of 270 electoral votes. And now, back to you, the waivers. We are talking about weddings for today's text topic because later on in hour number 2, we're going to be talking about this. It was an issue about the whole, the haggett look, your wedding attire to someone else's wedding. So what do you usually wear to weddings? And also, if you had to choose, it makes me cringe because, unless the bride on her invitation asked everyone to wear white, especially in American culture, it's it's a fashion faux pas, meaning you never wear white and you never try to upstage the bride because that is her day, right? Anyhow, if you had to choose between all white, cringe, or sweats, double cringe, both cringe, right? Which would you choose? 자, 내 하객 룩은 대부분 어떤 옷이냐고 묻고 싶고요. What is it? 자, 만약에 누군가의 결혼식에 all white 아니면 트레이닝을 입어야 된다면 중간 선택이 없어요. 극과 극이잖아요. Two very extreme ends of the spectrum. Which would you choose? And looking at your responses, let's see. Umberto says all white, definitely white. I am not a casual person for formal events. Ooh, okay. Let's see. Who else? Let's see. 가보자고 waiver says this. I have never been to a wedding. None of my friends are married. It's true. People don't marry in Korea, they say. I would rather choose sweats. Oh, okay. Interesting. And then we have Sophia waiver who says all white. I don't want to overshadow the bride, but I think it's better than sweats. Oh, yes. So that's very interesting as well. I'll read more of your messages in just a little bit, but we got to get to Cat's Pick. As I already prefaced, I'm going to be focusing on President-elect Donald Trump and what he said to his supporters. So here's a clip from AP.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback.
Well, the vote is pretty much over in terms of actually voting. I know in certain areas they're still counting the votes, but yes, he's the presumptive winner. He's the president-elect Donald Trump. He will be inaugurated in January, and let's see if he can unite the nation. And here was this was Kat's pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
Wavers, you already see him on camera, especially for tuning into our YouTube stream right now. Chris is in the studio.
Good morning.
And so, yes, how are you?
I'm not bad at all. It's a beautiful day outside.
It is. And I know in certain parts of Korea, it's awfully cold. For example, I think Tommy mentioned it was like where he is right now, it was like -1.
Wow.
Or, yes, he says, by the way, in the morning, it was -1 Celsius, which is, like around 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold.
The summer stuck around a long time, but it is a reminder that winter will come.
It's basically here, like almost. We had we're having a very short, abbreviated fall
Very
season,
condensed
right?
fall season this year.
Yes. All right. So, I mean, it's November. Can you believe?
Yeah. We survived spooky season.
Yes.
So.
What are we talking about today?
Well, a question for you. When you think of France, what do you think of?
This is so cliche. Okay, so I think of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, yeah.
I think of croissants. I do because they're so delicious.
They are. They're
yes.
really good.
I know that's like really stereotypical. And I think about the French culture
the French
and history.
culture. Yeah,
because we learned about it in school. So.
Yeah, it's a very nice place to be. When I think about it, I think of the cheese.
Oh, cheese.
Yeah, it's a good brie or a good camembert. They're really my go-to when I visited the country. Just put it on a little crunchy baguette. I'm really happy with that.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't admit this, but it's been over 20 years, so I think it's fine. The first time I visited France, I was so impressed by the cheese that I actually brought some back to the States with me, which I didn't realize at the time was not allowed. I think the rules have changed since then.
Okay.
Now it's fine, but back then...
Back in the day?
Yeah.
No?
It was a no-no.
Okay.
So I was a bit shocked and disappointed when I read the news back in March that the iconic cheese from France, specifically Camembert, Brie, and blue cheese, could completely disappear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
This was revealed in a publication of research on the essential cheese-making molds that give the iconic French cheeses their flavor.
Yes.
This news was surprising, and it caused many cheese fans to panic, even though... enough to make the co-author of the study, Joanne Ropar, speak out to calm everyone. She said, I must emphasize there's no production problem in the short term for cheeses, even Camembert.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. I'm like, why are they bringing up cheese and why are you bringing it up now? And then you mentioned March. There's a lot of things floating around my head right now, so I hope you have some answers.
Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is the BBC published a report by Emily Monaco this week examining the study and the cheesescape at large, and determined that while the production of Brie and Camembert weren't in trouble right now, the cause of panic is something that we shouldn't ignore. And it's basically because of the lack of biodiversity in the molds that make the molds susceptible to problems. And this lack of biodiversity in the cheese-making molds that makes them vulnerable is something that could come along and attack the molds.
Right. So you keep on bringing up the word mold. So you're talking about like the real mold that we think of because... moldy cheese. It doesn't sound so great, but then technically that's what's on the cheese.
Yeah. We need to look at what cheese is. At its core, cheese is just solidified milk solids that have been separated from the liquid and pressed together.
Yes.
Now, some cheese that you can just sell it like that. You just put it together. It's got a very mild flavor. Think like mozzarella or cottage cheese, very fresh things. And when it's eaten at this time, it's good, but the flavor isn't very complex.
Right.
Cheese lovers really love that complex flavor. So by introducing molds and bacteria and allowing it the cheese to ripen,
yes,
the cheesemakers allow more complex flavors to develop. Now, cheeses like brie and their blue cheese cousins are covered with mold. Blue cheese is injected with mold.
Right.
That has been selected for flavor and color and, isn't going to hurt our health. The white mold that covers brie is a mutant that makes it white, which is preferable to other molds that might make it look green or gray. Arnold Sparatzar, the president of the Foundation pour la Biodiversité Fromage, mouthful word there, said that the market demanded it. People preferred the beautiful white cheese that was pretty down, as opposed to cheese that looks a bit moldy. But this mold is incapable of what we call sexual reproduction, which has led to a stagnant genome.
Is that what's going on? A stagnant genome, and it sounds so complicated. So if you can kind of slow down and kind of make it easy for us to digest, because there's a lot of science going on with just cheese. And by the way, wavers out there, what's your favorite type of cheese? Side note, I'm curious because I love brie, and I know that blue cheese, it's kind of divisive. Either you love it.
Yeah,
or some people are just like,
flavor.
It's just too stinky. I can't, wrap my taste buds around that.
Yeah.
So very curious. All right, so go on. What exactly is, stagnant genome, is that bad?
Yeah, it's if you think like a genetic diversity, like how varied an organism is, it means that the spores are unable to evolve and adapt, basically.
Okay.
When all the individuals are clones, if a virus or bacteria figures out how to attack one, then all of the others can be attacked easily. Or something like climate change, which is, happening all over the world.
Yes.
It can alter the environment enough that the molds can't survive. This is actually what happened with an old strain of bananas called the Gros Michel, which basically went extinct before being replaced by the Cavendish, which is what we know of as a banana these days.
I see.
If you're a banana lover, that's also in being attacked by a mold that it's in danger of dying out as well.
Okay.
For chocolate lovers, bad news. Same thing is happening to the cocoa tree.
Really?
Yeah,
No.
with all of the clones that are happening there.
Not our chocolate.
Yeah. But fortunately, the Penicillium camemberti, which is the name of the mold that covers the outside of brie and camembert, isn't the only mold that can be used to make these cheeses.
Okay.
It's just the one that consumers expect. Other variants have different textures or colors. Spirit said there's so many producers and so many parent strains that no one at the end of the day is worried about the end of camembert.
Okay, so question then, why this kind of worry or uproar regarding this study if there are so many options?
Well, the cheesemaker Pierre Collon, founder of all these French words today, La Canteria Camembert, said it is really just a buzz effect. As usual, it's not what's going to make cheese disappear.
Okay.
There are other
Rest
issues.
assured.
Yeah, there are other issues, and most of it comes down to climate change. In Normandy, Kohler said it's been raining since July, and even though the place is famously damp, humidity is posing an unprecedented problem, and from a proliferation of new and unsought molds on his camembert to the grounds being so waterlogged that the cows can't graze in the pasture.
Oh.
In addition to this, in other places in France, they've experienced a really dry summer, which has led the cows to produce less milk.
Yes.
And the warmer temperatures also change how the cheese ripens, leading to changes in the texture and flavor of the milk. The heat can also change the content and the quality of the milk, leading to lower casein and other minerals that make it difficult to produce good cheese. And this isn't limited to France either. Cheese production in Switzerland is being affected by the increase in plant species that are more common to the Mediterranean.
Sure.
Growing and changing the flavor of the cheese produced there.
So it's basically climate change or global warming adding to the threat to quintessential French cheese.
Yes, but that's not the only threat. While it is true that in central France, the traditional cheeses like Salé and the Grand Arbec are already at risk of disappearing because of this climate change, it's not helped by regulations that are preventing cheesemakers from adapting to the new environment. French cheeses are all part of one of 46 what we call AOP, or place of origin certification.
Yes.
Cheese educator Sue Sturman explained that an AOP is at its heart about its connection, a product's connection to the place and its history. Both Salé and the Grand Arbec have been made in the summer when cows graze in the high mountain pastures, but with the dry summers, farmers have added hay and feed to the cow's diet, which changes the flavor.
It does. I can see.
Due to the regulations, they can't sell these cheeses as the more expensive Salé and Grand Arbec, but must label it as a lower priced cheese. Now, cheese producers are working to modify their charters to work with changing conditions. Yves Solho, managing director of the Legion Germangene Cooperative, said that it's about adapting. It's not complicated, but it does demand adaptation. But while they're working on changing local regulations, other regulations are harder to work around. The EU has introduced more regulations on shipping raw milk, especially with the rise of foodborne pathogens like E. coli.
Ah, yes, indeed. So is there anything else that we need to know about this issue?
Well, like everything else, one of the big problems is a lack of young people learning the techniques that are required to make these products.
Oh, okay.
In fact, according to cheese producer Caroline Borrell, the biggest factor threatening the future of the Saint Nectarine and other cheese is that there's a consistent decline of people to take over. Spertzar said many farms have closed and others will. Because there's no one to take over.
Right. So, actually, on that note, we're going to have to wrap up our segment already. I know we could go on and on about the cheese. Yes, we could. But, this whole idea of, many people saying, they think of cheese as well when they think of France. So I certainly hope that this doesn't become a bigger issue, because we don't want all those delicious cheeses to disappear, right?
Yeah, hopefully, with the younger generations coming in, there's still hope.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for bringing us a very interesting topic for Beyond the Headlines, and we'll be sure to check in with you next week. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, it's time to wrap up hour number 1. So how about this one? Circles by Post Malone. Enjoy, and I'll be back at 8 o'clock.
어린이 보호구역 안전 기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Entire mountain, which will take 100 years to recover. We can protect these lush forests if you follow these guidelines. First, do not bring flammable materials to the mountains. Second, do not cook or camp in the mountains. Third, do not litter cigarette butts. Your small actions are the first step towards protecting the beautiful forest. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
Want to be a friend of BFM 부산영어방송? You can chat with BFM through our Kakao Talk service. You can share your messages and photos through Kakao Talk, and you can easily become BFM's Kakao friend by searching BFM through the Find a Friend option. Come share and chat with us at BFM anytime, anywhere for free. Don't forget to add BFM 부산영어방송 to your Kakao friends list.
Man, I haven't got a chance. I call
him. The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. Donald Trump, winner of U.S. presidential race. Donald Trump has won the U.S. presidential election with 295 electoral votes projected, and that's according to the Associated Press. Trump declared victory early on in the night, local time, thanks to his supporters, and claiming that America has given him an unprecedented and powerful mandate. Kamala Harris has conceded the race and congratulated Trump on his win. Speaking from Howard University, Harris told her supporters to not despair as she vowed to help Donald Trump with the transfer of power. World leaders have begun sending in their congratulations, including South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. South Korean won tumbles after Trump wins. The South Korean currency fell sharply against the U.S. dollar during intraday trading yesterday after Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election. The South Korean won was trading at 1,400.51 to the dollar last night, marking the first time to surpass the 1,401 threshold since April 16th. Investors rushed to buy U.S. dollars as Trump's victory heralds an increase in fiscal spending and tax cuts, which will lead to an increase in state debt sales and consequently help boost a rise in market rates. Bitcoin at the same time soared to a new high, approaching $76,000 for the first time ever. Russia's parliament ratifies bilateral treaty with North Korea. Russia's upper house of parliament ratified a treaty with North Korea on Wednesday that calls for establishing a mutual commitment to providing military assistance to each other in the event of an armed attack, Russian media reported. This comes as Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky confirmed that North Korean troops have engaged in combat in the Kursk region, saying this opens a new chapter in global uncertainties. The South Korean presidential office, however, assessed that the North Korean troops in Russia's Western Front have not yet engaged in full-fledged combat with Ukrainian forces. Websites of Defense and Environment Ministries hit by cyber attack. The websites of the Defense and Environment Ministries suffered service disruptions this week after a cyber attack, following the South Korean cybersecurity watchdog's warning of North Korea's possible hackings. The distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack, took place first on the Defense Ministry's website on Tuesday, followed by an attack on the Environment Ministry yesterday morning, as well as a Joint Chiefs of Staff site. A DDoS attack refers to a situation where a large number of infected devices are used to overwhelm a target server or website. Authorities have taken necessary response measures, have restored the sites, and are working on figuring out who is behind the attacks. Netanyahu fires defense minister. Protests break out in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has fired his defense minister Yoav Gallant, citing a crisis of trust, adding that Foreign Minister Israel Katz will replace him. Protests have broken out on the streets calling for Netanyahu's resignation and that the new defense minister prioritize a hostage deal. Israeli opposition leaders have issued a joint statement condemning Netanyahu for firing Gallant. Gallant has said that his removal was due to several disagreements, including his view that Israel make painful but bearable concessions to bring the remaining hostages back home. And this was News Highlights. It's that time for issue Wagga Wagga. Haley's back.
It is. Good morning again.
Yes, yes. Well, for our first story, we're going to go to the subways, apparently. Meaning, are we talking about like subway like 지하철, right?
지하철.
Yes,
right.
and there are gaps between the trains and the platforms naturally, but apparently now there are gaps and then there are gaps,
There
right?
are indeed where you might have to jump over rather than walk.
Oh.
So, yes, do mind the gap when you are exiting or entering subways. And then some gaps are like, is this legal? Is this safe?
Is this okay?
I've definitely, at Samyeon Station, I've seen a woman, she was wearing like those, they're like the backless, like they were loafers, but they didn't have a back to it. Mules, thank
Yes.
you. It like the flap went into the gap and it just flipped off of her foot and fell right in.
Oh my gosh.
So she just was missing a shoe.
Oh,
It
she was
happened right in front of my eyes. I'm like, oh. So this happens. But then what about you yourself falling partially through that gap?
That's scary.
Which is so scary, and
Right.
that has happened in Seoul. So there's been a report of an adult, a fully grown adult, having fallen through a gap on a Seoul subway. It was just his leg, but he did sustain injuries. So this was on line 3 of Seoul subway at Chungmo-do station. A man's leg fell into the gap on the subway on his way onto the train.
Okay. Oh my
So it fell
goodness.
up to his thigh and he injured his knee. At that particular station, the biggest gap between the platform and the subway was measured at 22 centimeters.
That's big.
That's 20, right, once again, 22 centimeters.
Right.
At another station, Dongdaemun History and Culture Park Station, there are gaps that were also over 20 centimeters wide. So this means people's feet and shoes can fall in. For wheelchair users, if you think about it, that gap is enough for their front wheels to get stuck or even fall in, which is highly dangerous.
Yes.
And apparently there are about 80 subway accidents each year, and this is just reported on the Seoul City subway. And about 18% of Seoul subway platforms have gaps that are over 10 centimeters wide between the trains and the platforms. The reason for this is because the platforms are sometimes on a slight curve.
Okay.
And the trains don't curve that way. They just, they drive straight. They have to drive straight. So on either end of the platforms, the gaps do tend to be bigger. So by the way, this could be an important tip if you do use a wheelchair or if you are with little ones, you might want to move towards the center of the platform where the gap would be smaller.
Yes.
But still, Seoul Metro has these like rubber/plastic connectors, like these tiny ramps for areas that do have the larger gaps. However, it's not possible to install them on all of them because for some platforms, there is a risk of the train running into them, and that's a whole other safety issue.
Right.
So the Subway Corporation says that for those particular cases, they are looking into installing LED lights embedded onto the floor, so people will really have to look where they're going.
Yes. So once again, be careful when you get on or off a subway train, please, everybody out there. Well, in yet another traffic-related story, this mother was filmed jaywalking with her young daughter, and this was a close call.
This was so stressful.
Yes.
Once again, we don't have the visuals up, but if you want to, you can look it up online. It is viral. So this was on the YouTube channel 한문철 TV.
Yes.
A mom jaywalking with her daughter who seems to be in elementary school age. Like she's not old. And the two of them almost gets rammed by a van.
Oh my gosh.
And it's definitely not the van's fault. So this was at apparently an amusement park in Wonju, Gangwon province. It's a 2-lane road but going both ways. There are steel fences on either side. So you're not supposed to cross that road anyway.
Right.
But the car which submitted the dashboard footage, there's like a gap between that car and the car in front of them. Right in front. The mom crosses the fence. She jumps the fence with her daughter.
Yes.
And they are crossing. They're jaywalking. They're like almost running. But then, so on this right side of the road, there's a long line of cars that are stopped, presumably at a light.
Yes.
The left side of the road, oncoming traffic, it's empty. So she kind of walks out or almost runs out from behind a car that stopped. And because of that, she doesn't see that there's a van coming at her and her daughter from the other side. And because there's a long line of cars and she just popped out of nowhere, the van didn't see them either. So the car just stops. He or she, the driver, slams on the brakes, stops inches away from the daughter and the mother. Apparently that third car, the car that submitted the black box footage, honked very loudly. We couldn't see that in the footage, but he honked very loudly. So the van was alerted that there's something might be going on. So the van was able to slam on the brakes. So the attorney, 한문철, said that van pretty much saved the mother and the daughter's life. And on top of that, the mother had the daughter in front of her as she was jaywalking. So she could have, one or both of them could have gotten seriously hurt.
Let's not jaywalk.
Let's not. And this goes in line with Leanne's story from yesterday.
Indeed. All right. In another pedestrian accident, but this time a woman was injured when a deer, like 사슴 or 고라니, attacked a woman on a walk. What are we talking about?
And this happened in Korea, by the way. It's a 사슴. It's a full-out 사슴.
Okay.
Happened in Korea, 광교 호수공원, 광교 Lake Park in Suwon, Gyeonggi Province. A woman in her 60s was on her regular morning walk, apparently, around 5:20 on a walking trail. So it was a trail. A buck or male deer, 수사슴, came onto the trail and apparently attacked her. like rammed its antlers into her. So she sustained wounds on both of her legs. She's not in critical condition, but it is pretty deep, and she's under treatment at a local hospital.
I don't remember the last time
I've seen a deer. I know there's 고라니, like the water deer with the fangs, but like just deer in Korea. Apparently, according to online community accounts, another man sustained wounds on his abdomen earlier, presumably from the same deer in the same area at least. So the authorities are searching for that deer. But it is a bit of a puzzle because there aren't any deer farms nearby. And this isn't a rural enough of an area for there to be wild deer just roaming around, at least not usually. Because that particular park is also by a fairly large apartment complex. So once again, it is quite puzzling, but the police are searching for that deer.
Okay, so now we have to beware of deer. Okay.
Right.
Lastly, this goes to our text topic. It's common to see, wedding guests in South Korea. And I have to say in South Korea, underlined on that fact, because in this kind of like business casual attire. Like I said, the way I would dress for a wedding here in Korea versus how I used to dress in the States for a wedding, completely different.
Oh, right.
And one of the most often seen colors is black.
Definitely. So you and I, if you're on our YouTube channel, Kat, it's in all black. I'm in like this magenta burgundy wine, sure, like deep red wine, very muted. We could go to a wedding in this right now. Yeah.
And by the way, Haley and I have been sticking to a very non-blue, non-red, just
neutral,
black all week,
muted,
because
well,
for the election.
We don't want to send any messages.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Although I mean, is this in a red family? I realized that as I was like walking into it's wine. Yes. Wine, like the booze. Anyways, Jennie of Blackpink.
Yes.
She kind of sparked this. She's not under controversy, but she just sparked this interesting cultural discussion online with her recent wedding guest look. So Jennie went to a friend's wedding last month. A lot of other celebrities in attendance.
It was a big wedding.
It was a big wedding. It was a nice wedding. So she is in a basic white collared shirt with a black short sleeve sweater over that shirt, and she's wearing black slacks with like an ivory bag. Very toned down, very attractive, very demure, as they would say.
Yes.
And then many other celebrities who were also in attendance, they were also in kind of simple black and white attire. And that's so normal in South Korea. And that's, of course, that is what you wear. But then when her fans saw it, they were like, why are you so dressed down? Also, why is everyone in dark colors? Right, so that was kind
is
of
it a funeral? I've seen the comments.
Like, is this a funeral? What, do you guys not like the wedding? What's happening? Because especially it's customary in a Korean wedding, at the end of the ceremony, take two group photos. The photographer will call the family first. And usually that's a little bit more colorful because at least the moms are wearing hanbok.
Yes.
And it's traditionally blue for the groom's mom and pinkish for the bride's mom. So there's at least like two people in color. But then you go to the friends and like work colleagues photo. It's all black.
Yes.
Or beige or just neutral.
Neutral,
grays.
muted colors.
Right.
Yes.
There might be a cultural reason for this because Western weddings they're more of a party.
Oh, yeah.
Like the ceremony itself is fairly brief. The reception goes for hours.
Yes.
And there's usually a bar, open or paid. There's a dance floor, DJ. There's dancing. And that's heavily with family and friends.
Yes,
very close group of people. Korean weddings feature a lot of your colleagues.
Yes.
And your parents' colleagues. And your business partners, parents' business partners.
Business acquaintances.
People that you, if you're a bride or a groom, you might not know half the people who are there because they're your parents' guests.
I was surprised at like that same wedding, my cousin's wedding, at the Hwawon, the wreaths.
Yeah,
Hwawon. And I was just like,
who are these people?
First I was kind of like, what's with because I didn't see the inside of the venue at that when I walked in.
Right.
That was my first Korean wedding. I was just like, what's with the wedding decor? Like that was my first
interesting flower choices.
Yeah, I was like, very interesting, very round wreaths everywhere.
Yeah, the tall standing ones.
Right, and then I go in, I'm like, oh, it's so lovely. And then I realized, these are part of the decor. People sent them in, businesses.
This is like kind of a business flex. So, once again, it's kind of a work function.
Yes.
So, people then, like, if I'm going on a weekend to a work function, it's kind of like I'm going to dress like I'm at work is maybe perhaps a mentality. Right. So, but there are people who have said that Korean weddings, the attire at least, is too conservative and perhaps restrictive.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That anyone who stands out gets criticized as trying to overshadow the main event. There was a particular celebrity, I think EUB, her sister got married to Lee Seung-gi, and she wore this like very bright pink tweed suit.
Yes, I remember that.
Suit. Mm-hmm. And she was under a lot of criticism. But then she explained her sister, the bride, actually picked it out for her. But that's kind of the culture, I suppose.
It is the culture, because when I saw that, I had no issues with her attire.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of criticism.
But there was a lot of criticism. Like, is that my style? Not necessarily, but
still,
yes. The bride picked it out. Anywho.
Well, we're going to call it a wrap for Wagga Wagga today, but we'll be sure to check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right, everybody. It is now time for your updated traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic report. It is now 8:18 on this Thursday morning. There's an accident on Gwangan Bridge from Namcheon to Haeundae. And so this two-car collision, it occurred in lane number 2. It's causing a lot of backup. Also, an accident on Chunyeoldae from Minam intersection to Daeseong intersection. This is an accident involving a cargo truck. There's also some backup on Bunyeonglo from the Wondong ramp to Suyang Tunnel. Also looking quite slow on Gwanmun-dae from Pangnam Tunnel to Paegang Tunnel. As for the weather, it's currently 11 degrees Celsius here in Sentam, with the daytime high is expected to go up to 19 today with clear skies. It is quite cold elsewhere in the country, as some of you are, sending in your messages, and it is quite cold. The morning low lingering in the single digit and strong winds, making it even colder. Certainly in line with today being Ipdong, or the start of winter. So this was your traffic and weather. This is Single Ladies by Beyonce. I chose this song because we're talking about weddings.
Up in the club, just broke up. I'm doing my own little thing. You decided to dip, and now you want a trip, 'cause another brother noticed me. I'm up on him, he up on me. Don't pay him any attention. Just crying my tears, kids, 3 good years, kids can't be mad at me. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad when you see that he want it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. I need no permission, did I mention? Don't pay him any attention, 'cause you had your turn, and now you're gonna learn what it really feels like to miss me. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad when you see that he want it. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you don't, you'll be alone, and like a ghost, I'll be gone. All the single ladies, 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 all the single ladies. Now put your hands up.
Welcome back. That was a mini boo-boo from me. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that song as we were talking about like weddings and whatnot. So I thought it'd be ironic that I could play Single Ladies for You by Beyonce. Anyhow, back to some of your comments. I read some of your comments on the internet, on our YouTube channel and whatnot. So it's kind of split. Some of you are saying that you would prefer to wear all white versus sweats. And remember, I didn't give you anything in between. It's the all white or just sweats. And Junwon Waver, he said that, he just bought a nice pair of sweats, so he would choose to wear the sweats. And once again, it's because, as Haley just said, the cultural differences in what we wear to weddings here in Korea versus in the States. So I kind of miss weddings in the U.S. where, I would usually choose some kind of pastel-y or kind of like floral dress to wear. And here it's very muted because it's all about don't outshine the bride, which actually is probably for every culture around the world, but it's more so here, kind of wear the dark, muted colors so you really, really blend in really well with the surroundings because you just want the bride to have her day. And plus, as Haley pointed out, it's all about kind of business associations as well. All right, for now, though, we are going to get into our special interview, and we're going to do it without the BG because I played it by accident for you just a little while ago. So the professor is he is ready to go with us. The U.S. elections, as you know, the count is ongoing for certain states, but we have a presumptive winner. We know who is going to be inaugurated in January. So this is the final installment of our U.S. election coverage in terms of special interviews this week. And today we're going to focus on economic and the economy of all of this because it's very important, right? So we have invited back to the airwaves Professor Barry Rabe, who's a professor of public policy and environmental policy at the University of Michigan. And Michigan was a very important state during this round of elections. So here he is, and let's say hi to him first. Hi, welcome back, Professor.
Catherine, good to hear you, and thank you so much for inviting me back. Greetings from Michigan, which was indeed a major state in the now completed election.
Yes, indeed. So, Professor, if we can talk about the economic facet of everything that's going on right now. So, Donald Trump, he is going to be the 47th president of the United States, and so his economic policy, if you can tell us what he prefers, what's he going to prioritize? Because if we look back on history of his previous administration, he seemed to prioritize things like customs and tariffs. But I'm thinking, how will this affect trade relationships with other countries, namely South Korea?
Well, the 47th president provides some evidence from that from being the 45th president.
Yes.
Indeed, if one thinks back to that period, there were lots of concerns about trade, protecting American interests, major tax cuts, some reductions in spending and the like. I think we're going to see all of that, but possibly much more aggressive, almost on steroids. And the word that Trump continually used during the campaign with profound affection was the T word of tariffs, which has a long history. It goes back in the United States anyway to before the American Revolution. It's how we funded our government.
Yes.
But Trump thinks that this is a phenomenal tool, a way to kind of bend other nations to our will and not allow us to take advantage of us in trade deals, but also produce revenue, which is collected at the American border. We never know with exactitude just what he's going to do or how specific he will be in delivering on some campaign promises.
Right.
But he has been talking about, among other things, kind of across the board tariffs, 10%, maybe 20% on all imported goods, but with some bonus tariffs for countries that he think are really not being good partners with the United States, most notably Mexico right now and China. Those would get super tariffs or bonus tariffs under his plans.
Yes. Do we have any inkling of how he might deal with South Korea? The watchers here are a little nervous.
With good reason. I would say that it does not appear from the campaign that South Korea is primary in his sights. As I mentioned, Mexico,
Yes.
China were getting a lot of attention during the campaign, in part because they have such a large trade relationship and we have such large deficits in our trade issues. And there are other factors, national security, immigration, and all the rest. But I think it's fair to assume that a second Trump presidency will look at every bilateral trade relationship, including that of Korea, and look at the relationship, whether the president feels that there's some unfair advantage being taken, whether that's the amount of defense spending that's being provided by Korea versus the United States, or enough investment that he would like to see of Korean investment directly within the United States. So I think that this will surface in a bilateral way, but also part of this larger global initiative, raising all kinds of questions about the possible responses that we might see and strategic steps that South Korea might take in response to that or in anticipation of that.
Yes. Thanks for explaining. It seems that one of Trump's economic goals, according to the rhetoric, has been to attract foreign investment to the U.S. Obviously, he wants to make America great again. That's his byline. What strategies might we expect him to employ?
Well, one way to think about Donald Trump is as the president, but almost like a local mayor who really wants to see investment in his or her town. Actually see signs of ground being broken and construction. Remember, this is not a career politician, but this is a career business person, a television star, but also a real estate dealer. He loves groundbreaking ceremonies. He loves it. He loved it as president when other countries would come and start plants or things where he could literally go and claim credit for having brought that investment in. Now, I don't know how attractive that is or how viable it is from a South Korean perspective, but it does raise this question of whether Mr. Trump sees tangible evidence that it's a two-way street and what he calls a fair trading relationship, which is leveraging as much as possible to advantage the United States.
Well, what about his stance on things like technology cooperation, emphasizing things like self-reliance and also minimizing dependency on foreign nations? And that would include us as well here in South Korea. So how might this type of approach actually shape the U.S. and its relationship with tech partners globally? What do you think, Professor?
Certainly, we should expect, as was true in the Trump administration and even true to some extent in the now outgoing Biden-Harris administration, that there will be a desire to kind of near-source production of these different kinds of technologies, whether that's the minerals that are used for them or some of the advanced, sophisticated technologies involved. That said, it is still widely recognized in the United States that we are not some island that can produce and maintain complete control over all of our economy.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any desire, even in Mr. Trump, to kind of shut down those relationships. And here a challenge, but also an opportunity would be for the leadership of South Korea to really make clear to President Trump and a Trump administration the ways in which it already contributes and enriches American technology, what potential partnerships might be like, especially if there are investment opportunities within the United States. Some of the major American trade partners, most notably Canada, which is right across our northern border and has a massive trade relationship with the United States, routinely will send government officials all over the United States to connect with our governors, our mayors, but also presidents and federal leaders to really demonstrate their continuing presence and role. And for someone like Trump, that kind of physical, tangible relationship, and again, that visible sign of engagement will probably be quite important, in any of the areas that you mentioned, including cybersecurity, where clearly to be effective, nations have to work cooperatively, and
Right.
that will be essential.
Indeed. I also want to turn our attention to the energy sector right now, Professor, because it seems that looking back once again to his previous administration, that he has leaned toward traditional energy sources while scaling back on green energy initiatives. So what might this mean for the U.S.'s role in global climate agreements and carbon reduction? Because we remember, back years when he was in the office of what happened back then. So do you think we're going to see more of the same?
Clearly, Donald Trump is a big fan of fossil fuels, and he will enter office at the end of the Biden-Harris administration with the United States continuing to be the world's largest producer of oil and natural gas, with really strong interest in exporting some of that, particularly liquefied natural gas, to our trade partners for use. We should expect to see an acceleration, to the extent that's possible economically and technically, of ramping up further production and additional exports. Trump is not necessarily prepared to eliminate development of renewables, but he's clearly not nearly as enthusiastic about them as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been, and Democrats in Congress generally have been. And a big question hanging over this is just how aggressive that fossil fuel production and use push will be, including the environmental standards that the United States will use to try to reduce methane and other greenhouse gas emissions that directly link from that sector. So clearly going forward, you should expect to hear more and more about this. Donald Trump talks about this as black gold. And whenever there's any issue, he makes very clear question about the future of this, that this will be a priority. He has a very close relationship with leaders in the oil and gas industry. A couple of months ago, met with leaders and actively solicited campaign contributions, major contributions to his campaign, and in effect suggesting, serve my interests, and I will reward you with policies that will work for you. Now, that doesn't mean there's uniformity in the oil and gas industry in the United States about what that means, but we should expect a very fossil fuel friendly administration with potentially large impact for global energy and even issues like climate change.
Yes. And as we are ready to wrap up our interview today, Professor, what final thoughts do you have, or even maybe words of advice to those who might be listening for countries like Korea, where we are very much indeed allies with, the United States in terms of economy, of the energy policies, your overall take, if we had to sum it up?
Sure. So tariffs can go two ways. The U.S. can impose them, but it is possible for other trade partners to impose them on the United States. And it is important to note that the European Union, a big American trading partner, is planning to launch carbon tariffs in 2026 on nations that do not have a price on carbon emissions and a weaker carbon or climate record. Those would be tariffs that would be linked exactly to climate. In this case, the U.S. has no carbon price, but South Korea does. And there has been work with the emissions trading system, your cap and trade system, possibly linking that to the European Union. So one clearly doesn't want to see trade wars, but there are some tools whereby South Korea, because of its environmental performance, and if it can maintain that, could be able to challenge or push back, perhaps with alliance with the European Union, the United Kingdom, or other countries, and think about how that operation might work, trying to engage the United States, but also suggest that trade is a two-way street.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for your insight, your expertise, and your take on the economic and, of course, the energy, ramifications of this election and the effects we'll see in the days, weeks, and months to come. Thank you so much, Professor.
Catherine, thank you. Good to talk with you.
Once again, everybody, this was Professor Barry Rabin. We talked about what we might see in the 47th administration. We're talking about Donald Trump, president-elect. He will be inaugurated once again in January. And it's not just South Korea. I think many countries and leaders and just people in general will be very in tune and keen to find out what might happen in the future with him at the helm of the USA once again. All right. Well, we are due for another song break. So this is Gnarls Barkley. I love this song, so there's no pun intended. I chose this song actually yesterday, all the songs. So this is Crazy by Gnarls Barkley.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life. But think twice. That's my only advice. Come on now, who do you think you are? Bless your soul. You really think you're in control? Well, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes had the heart to lose the lives I wanna live. And all I remember is thinking I wanna be like them. Ever since I was little, it looked like fun. If there's no coincidence, I've come. And I can die when I'm done. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Probably.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
All right, listeners, guess who's back? We have Stephanie back. Yay!
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Good. It's cold outside.
I know. It is. And, it's cold here, but like whenever listeners, Tommy was saying it was like -1 when he, I guess, woke up. So, yeah.
In Busan?
No. He's in the Suwon area.
Oh, wow.
Right. So in other parts, it's much colder.
Oh, my.
So I won't complain that much.
Yes,
but hey, I have a
good.
Yeah. Text topic: weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I know the attire is quite different, right, from the
Right.
States and here.
Yes.
But if I threw you this curveball, you can only choose to wear all white to someone's wedding, or sweats like training. Two extremes, right?
I'm going to be hated.
Yes, but
either way.
What would you choose?
I'm in Korea. Oh, okay.
Stephanie's like, oh my gosh, why is she doing this to me? This is our text topic for everybody, not just you. Okay, so.
Oh, man. So I guess it depends. Either I wear white and look fabulous and be hated. I wear sweats and be hated.
Right.
I'll wear white.
That's what I said
feel
too.
like it's disrespectful either way.
Right.
Look
Might as
good
well
while
look
you're at it.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Right. And just kind of hopefully try to blend in and like stand next to a white wall.
Yeah.
And
Stand behind people.
Right, not outshine the bride. But I mean, either which way, that's like my night, like a nightmare, right?
Yeah. That's terrible.
Yes.
Oh
well,
my.
we like doing that. Our choices.
Very creative.
Yes, we're going to get into our first insight. So what do you have for us?
So our first insight is on a topic that's
Yes.
close to all of us, right? Our plastic-filled world and the urgent need for change. But before we dive into the details, Catherine, which single-use plastic item would be hardest for you to give up?
Oh, single-use plastic item. You know, I have to say, I know that many of the cafes out there, they went with the whole straws.
Right.
I hate those paper straws.
I know. It sticks to your mouth.
And like after a while, it's just, you know, because it takes a long time, right?
bendy and
So I just say, if they offer me the paper straw, I just go, 괜찮아요.
yeah.
Like,
I'd rather just not use
yeah,
straws.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Right,
Yes.
I understand. For me, it's like eye drops. Like, what can you do? Right?
yeah,
You do
yeah.
need it.
Yes.
It's dry these days. You need it.
True.
Now, as we know, plastic has become close part of our daily lives under the guise of convenience,
Yes.
causing severe environmental destruction and even threatening life. The international community has recognized the seriousness of plastic pollution and is working toward solutions.
Sure.
So from November 25th to December 1st, the fifth session of United Nations Environment Assembly on ending plastic pollution will be held here in South Korea.
Wow, that's a mouthful, but very, very important, this whole idea. So yes, it's going to be here in Busan, right?
That's right. Busan will be hosting the meeting with representatives from over 170 countries gathering to finalize a legally binding treaty to combat plastic pollution. It's a major milestone for both Busan and the global effort against plastic waste.
Yes.
Now, I was looking into this event and found out about a symbolic sculpture representing this event, which was selected just last week, and it's titled Whale.
Oh, so tell us more about this sculpture.
Yeah, so it's created by artist Kim Jong-ju, and this work was inspired by an incident in March where a young fin whale, barely over a year old, washed up dead on the shore of Busan County due to a disposable plastic cup lid that had blocked its intestines. And it's a tragedy highlighting the impact of marine plastic waste.
Yes.
And the sculpture, shaped like a sperm whale, allows visitors to enter its belly, which is filled with plastic waste, creating an interactive experience. And the structure will be built with steel bars, discarded vinyl, and shade canopies, with the whale's interior decorated using collected beach combing waste.
Right. What a tragic story. Well, where can we find this sculpture?
So this piece will be on display from November 23rd to December 2nd in the outdoor yard in front of Mexico Hall 1.
Okay.
Symbolizing the hope for a legally binding international treaty to end marine and plastic pollution. It aims to communicate messages to resource circulation and plastic reduction to the public.
I see. Well, it sounds like the sculpture, it not only reflects a tragic story that we just heard about of, you know, the impact of plastic pollution, but also reminds us, I think, of the responsibility that we have to tackle this crisis for future generations.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why the upcoming meeting on United Nations Environmental Assembly on ending plastic pollution in Busan has been described as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save the planet. Now, a few days ago, I sat down with Ms. Young-ae, Busan's Director of Resource Recirculation, who's actively preparing for the upcoming meeting. I asked her for her thoughts on the upcoming event, so let's take a listen.
플라스틱은 실제 우리에게 일상으로 자리 잡아 그 위험성이 좀 과소평가되는 경향이 좀 있는 것 같습니다. 근본 5차 회의에서 확실히 협약이 이루어지려면 각 국가들이 당장의 경제적 이익만을 생각하기보다는 미래지향적인 협력을 이루어내야 합니다. 또 우리 부산 시민들의 역할도 중요하다고 봅니다. 정부는 회의 취지에 맞게 플라스틱 전 주기 과정에 명확한 법적 기준을 마련하고 이행해야 하며 부산시는 행사가 원활히 진행될 수 있도록 제반 여건 마련 및 홍보에 힘쓰고 또 우리 부산 시민들은 플라스틱 사용 안 하기, 텀블러 사용과 같이 목소리를 내주신다면 협상이 타결되는 데 큰 도움이 될 것입니다.
So she said plastic has become such a regular part of our daily lives that its dangers are often underestimated. For a strong agreement to be reached at the fifth meeting, countries must adopt a forward-thinking approach that prioritizes preserving Earth over immediate economic gain. The host country, South Korea, along with host city, Busan, and its citizens also have important roles, she said. The government should establish and enforce clear legal standards throughout the plastic life cycle in line with the meeting's goals, and Busan should ensure the conditions of a smooth event and actively promote it, while Busan citizens, all of us, can make a difference by reducing plastic use, using reusable items like tumblers, for example, to demonstrate resource circulation in action. And she says such collective efforts will significantly contribute to a successful negotiation outcome.
Yes. So while we may not be able to eliminate, all plastics out of our lives or just do it overnight, that's, not doable. I think we can all we can play a little part.
Of course.
And that all adds up, right?
Yeah, little by little.
Yes. So let's hopefully reduce our plastic usage together. All right. So thank you for the first one. Let's move to our second insight. What do you have for us?
Right. So our second insight is about an issue that affects our communities, the rapid increase in vacant houses in our country, especially here in Busan.
Right.
Last week, I read about a 3-story abandoned house that collapsed in the redevelopment area of Busan's Seogu district, leading to the evacuation of 11 nearby residents. Though thankfully no injuries were reported, the building has been unoccupied for over 20 years.
And so this issue, we've talked about it on our program a minimum of, like 3-4 times. The issue of vacant homes, it's really pressing. And this whole idea that, what could happen? Well, we just found out what could happen, especially here in Busan.
Right. A couple days ago, I spoke with Mr. Shin Byung-yun. He's an expert in urban regeneration. And he shared August of this year a survey conducted by the 원도심 삼복도로 Council in specific districts, including 중구, 서구, 영도구, and Busan 진구, reported 5,922 vacant houses in those 4 districts alone.
Wow, that's a lot when you think about it, trying to wrap our minds around that. And I'm sure one of the reasons for this is, of course, this whole ongoing population decline.
Right. In the next clip, Mr. Shin Byung-yun discusses the reasons why Busan faces one of the most severe vacant house problems in the country. So let's take a listen.
큰 이유는 인구 감소가 제일 큰 원인인 것 같고요. 두 번째로는 그동안에 이제 부산시가 원도심에 도심 문제가 있으면 원도심 내에서 그 도심을 해결하기보다는 새로운 도시를 만들어서 원도심에 있는 분들이 외곽으로 움직이게 되는 거죠. 그러면서 자연히 이제 원도심에 빈집이 많이 생기게 된 거고, 그동안 저희들이 정책적으로 어떤 원도심 문제를 적극적으로 해결하려고 하는 노력이 좀 부족했다 하는 생각도 들고.
So as Catherine mentioned, one of the main reasons is the ongoing population decline. Another reason he mentioned is urban expansion to outskirts. Policies encouraging expansion to the outskirts of the city, like Myeongji or Kijang, have led to the development of new towns. This has caused a hollowing out effect in the original downtown areas. Also, there is a problem of insufficient plans to revitalize the old downtown. Efforts to address issues in the city center through development and policies have been insufficient, he said.
Yes. So these social issues, though, that might be linked to these vacant homes or houses, I think that's also something that we need to focus on, right?
Right. So vacant houses can become hotspots for crime and fire hazards.
Sure.
And they can lead to a deterioration of the living environment for surrounding residents. There's also the psychological impact, right? These empty homes can foster a sense of fear and insecurity in the community. Mr. Shin Byung-yun, he mentioned that he would go visit for his research some of these vacant houses, and he would see a lot of street cats, and a lot of disease that do come from it not being taken care of. So to address all of these issues, Busan City has announced plans to set up a dedicated team next year to address the vacant house issue. And Busan's Jungu office plans to operate a vacant house bank, which would involve creating a centralized database to systematically and easily manage and locate vacant houses. And this system would streamline the process and make vacant houses more accessible.
Yes. And, it's all about, first and foremost, safety. We don't want to, have citizens be injured or worry about the not so great things, the negative impact that these vacant homes may have on the community at large. So I'm glad that they are actually setting up this kind of like task force, a dedicated team. Yeah. And I'm hoping that more is done. And some people might think, is this really important? I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we live in this city where, we have a lot of rich history. A lot of the homes are really much older than we don't want to hear about a student was walking by and something collapsed or somebody got injured. We don't want to hear about stories
Safety
like that.
first.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for bringing us two really valuable insights. And once again, welcome back. And
thank you.
Yes. So for those of you, I'm sure you know, but Stephanie has her own program. And so it's on at 11, correct?
11:05 a.m. every day, Monday through Saturday. If you're interested, please tune in.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Bye-bye.
And yes, it is now time to wrap up for today. And I know it's been kind of a long-ish week because we've been covering the election non-stop. So now that we have at least the results for the presidential election, we might still talk about what's going on in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. But, we'll see. Tomorrow is a brand new day. And with that, it's time to say goodbye. So thank you for tuning in, for texting in, and just always supporting our program. We do appreciate it. Final song. This is Get Lucky by Daft Punk featuring Pharrell Williams. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Like the legend of the phoenix, all ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet spinning? The force from the beginning. Look, we've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar and our cups to the stars. She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 Present has no ribbon. Your gift keeps on giving. What is this I'm feeling? If you wanna leave, I'm with it. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get. We're up all night to get. We're up all night to get. We're up all night again. 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 Lucky. 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 Night to get 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 lucky.
Your bridge to the world. 부산영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는